What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode with Ski and Rob. Yesterday, we always are transparent to start the show. Yesterday, I went 3-4, I believe, or maybe even 3-5. I think 3-5 because I lost the college play. So not a good day yesterday. It's been a little bit of a rough week for me. So try to end it strong here with some bets for Friday. Rob, how did yesterday treat you?
2-1 in the college and 0-1 in the NBA. Had Denver first quarter, won the first quarter, didn't win by enough. Actually, we're trailing at halftime in that game, Ski. And I don't know. I guess I'm just misreading their situation, their level of, we've lost 4 in a row. But they did show up in the second half. So maybe I just got it wrong. The back half of the game was all Denver, especially really late because they win by 19. But the first half looked like they coasted through against a Detroit team that they even had Jaden Ivey on a minutes limit yesterday. He came back, but he wasn't necessarily totally healthy. So we'll see how the NBA goes today. Lots of college action for sure. I'm involved in quite a few today, and I'm also going to be involved in a couple of these NBAs.
All right, let's get straight to it, Rob. And Boofer saying, we got some guys in the chat. Boofer saying his first half and second half looks. I can't see the emoji. I think it might be a fire emoji. That's my guess.
Oh, it looks like a trash can.
Oh, okay, my bad. Trash can. Oh, okay. I can't see the emoji then, I guess. So we'll look to turn it around today, Boofer. We'll start just like how we did yesterday. There are some college games that are coming up, some that I'm interested in, and I'm gonna, pick Rob Veno's brain on that. But if you guys have questions on the college card or on anything in general, shoot them in the chat. Right now, this is the time to focus on college. So we're going to get through as many as we can. Then we'll move over to NBA. I know yesterday our guy Josh in the chat, he mentioned he went thoughts on Vermont and Marquette. You have Marquette opening as an 11-point favorite. They're now down to about a 10 or 10.5-point favorite across the board. Total open 145.5. And we've seen this one go down as low as 142. So money coming in on the under and some people liking Vermont. And that system that I mentioned yesterday from our good friend Jeff Michaels, it did not cash, but it's active again today. And remind me here, Rob, did Iona play yesterday or do they play today?
Iona plays today.
Okay. So I believe they're a part of this trend as well. But it says underdogs of 6.5 plus in tournament games versus non-conference opponents off 3 straight double-digit wins. They're now 17-3 against the spread since 2010 after a loss yesterday, and active on Vermont and I believe Iona here tonight. So I guess the lean for me just to follow the numbers with Vermont. Is that the side that you would support?
Yeah, I think if I was on the game, I would. I've got a little bit of an affection for the Vermont team each and every year. They're the same type of squad almost every year, Ski, and it's the kind of team that you would want in this, tournament type setting. They're veteran. They can play from the perimeter. They can play on the interior. They take care of the ball. They're fundamentally sound. They play extremely slow and methodical, which again makes this one of those contrast games because Shaka Smart and Marquette want it to be hectic, spread out all over the floor. The one thing you can always say about Shaka Smart teams is that if they don't turn you over when you're bringing the ball up and you get them in a half-court setting, from there you can do some damage against their half-court defense. And from there you can slow the pace and keep it under control. Now, what Vermont's got to be careful of in this game, Ski, is to not allow it to get away with a big spurt, 10-0, 12-0, stuff like that. I'm not saying that Vermont can't recover because they're experienced enough to maybe recover once, but Marquette can hit threes, and they're a little bit dangerous. All that said, I think Vermont's the right side here. I agree with the money. 10.5 seems to be a big price. It's an America East team, right? Well, a low major, but they're not unfamiliar to this. They win that conference just about every year for the last decade. It's not like this is foreign to them. They show up at these venues. They're not going to be in awe of anybody. And Marquette is off of the Big East Tournament Championship, a team. Let's remember that Marquette was picked 8th by most preseason annuals in the Big East Conference, and they finished first and win the tournament. So it's been a really good year for them. Not going to take anything away from them. Just think that in this opening game, Vermont poses a little bit of a problem for them, plus 10.5 points.
All right, so you agree here, and this is my bad on this because I did not pull it up. I have it. I just set it up to where I can show the trend on the screen. So bear with me. I'm getting all this stuff together. Just start doing these shows, adding different things to the show as we go along. So I'm going to introduce the next game, and after we finish the next game, maybe when we get to Iona, because I know it's active there, I'll bring up the trend on the screen so you guys can see it. But it does support that Vermont side. That's the same side that Mr. Veno is leaning. So that's the side that I would, look towards playing in this one. Next game, as my computer freezes here, we're looking at FDU and Purdue. This game opened, I think it was Purdue minus 24.5. Don't have the numbers in front of me here. I think it's down to about 23. And the total, I'm going to leave the total alone until my screen refreshes. 143.5 was the opener, up to 146.5 right now. The way I think about this game, Rob, is I feel like after that win FDU had, it was a little bit too much talking. Saying the more and more, they look at Purdue, they like what they see as easy or whatever the case may be. I think, it's going to be a little bit of a statement, and I think it starts early. So do I want to lay 23 points with Purdue, a team that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the biggest college guy, but this was a team that wasn't covering spreads for a good part of the season, right? So to lay 23 points, don't know that I necessarily want to do that. But first half, minus 13, I think that's what the statement is for this side. So that's my lean. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And the reason why I'd agree is because I really feel like Matt Painter will call off the dogs if, in fact, it's a blowout second half and FDU maybe could do a little bit of a backdoor cover. If you're getting 23, I mean, like you said, they opened 24.5 and pushed it down to 23. But again, if Purdue's up 28, 6 minutes left in the game, those starters are coming out in preparation for Sunday's game. And then maybe FDU can make some hay the other way. If you're taking 23, maybe they stay close. But it is this is a difficult task, Ski, right? Zach Edey is the tallest player in the nation, 7'5" and the tallest FDU guy. We saw it the other night, 6'6", can't rebound. They're going to have a horrendous time in the paint here. But like we saw against Texas Southern, they can shoot. And if they're chirping, it's probably from that perspective that, we think we can get our shots up against Purdue. They're not the quickest and most mobile, active type of defense. They're more stationary, like Iowa. And so, from that perspective, if you're going to look at FDU, you want them to come out and make shots. And they did get, a couple of these teams got a little bit screwed and a couple caught a break. And FDU is one of them, right? Because they played the first day of the play-in, or was it the second day? They played first day, right? They played the day that Arizona State played, I think. And so they got a couple of days of travel and preparation. Whereas the teams that played Wednesday, it's a little shorter for them playing on Friday after having to play Wednesday. So I think FDU shows up here. But again, I think it's a tall task, Ski. No pun intended. They're just a small team against one of the largest guys we've seen in college basketball in a long time. And not only is he a large guy, he's the National Player of the Year. So into the post to Zach Edey, I played full game over in this instance. It has gone up, like you mentioned. It went from 43.5 all the way to 46. I could see Purdue getting to 85, 88 in this game, and FDU coming back with 65, 67, something like that, 65 to 68. So I took over. But if you're going to play the Purdue side, you want them first half, because I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge as long as Zach Edey's in the ballgame.
So yeah, I agree with you on that last point. So I'm liking Purdue first half. You like a little bit of the over. Our guy Noli, he's known for knocking down these unders. He likes the under in this game, so that makes me uncomfortable. I'll stay far away from these total. I'll let you guys duke it out and We'll see how it shakes out at the end of the contest. I want to ask you about this game.
Yeah.
779, 780. And I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's Memphis minus 2.5. Now see Memphis minus 1.5 pretty much across the board. Total open 150, up as high as 152. The one thing I notice here is everybody's betting Memphis, and the line is going against them. So that means I should be trying to find some reason to bet Florida Atlantic. So can you give me any reason to back that side today?
Well, I mean, they've been a dominant team all season long, FAU, and they were, for those who watch college basketball all season long, they kind of had that asterisk next to them as a team that, when come tournament time, you'd probably want to be on because not a lot of people know about them. It's a complete squad, Ski. It's a good defense. It's a really good offense with a lot of options. But they ran through a conference that stinks, right? Conference USA, we can't label one team in Conference USA. I mean, they beat Alabama Birmingham, who was the second best team in the league, in the championship game by 20 plus. That game wasn't even close. The first half, I think they were up by 20 or more points. So it's hard to gauge how really good they are. Certainly, they could be a team that's overlooked a little bit by Memphis, so it's only Florida Atlantic, or it could be a team that, Penny Hardaway has them up for in this particular matchup. I would say this. I'm one of those guys who thinks that Memphis has the capability to make a deep run in this tournament. Well, we just saw them do to Houston. Marcus Sasser or no Marcus Sasser, you just don't go in and score the way they scored on Houston in that championship game, the AAC. They play at Greyhound pace. Kendrick Davis, former SMU guard, happens to be one of my favorite players in the country. You see enough of him ski, and I'm sure you would like this guy too because he's a shooter, he's a scorer. What they can do offensively is absolutely unbelievable as far as being able to score points quickly. So for FAU, the metrics are the metrics, right? And I know we get into these advanced stats, the Ken Palms, the hoop math, the shot quality, and all this stuff. But level of competition has to, mean something here. And again, I see what Memphis did to Houston. I see what Memphis did towards the end of the year. We know that Penny Hardaway has tremendous recruits on that team. But this is a difficult opening round matchup. These games aren't gimmies anymore when you play, champions of a lower conference team. And again, I know I said that they didn't play anybody, Florida Atlantic, but still, they're not untested. We're not real sure of how good that they are. If Memphis gets by, I think they're going to go deep into the tournament. I prefer to play this game over because when you can score on Houston, you can score on anybody. And I don't think FAU's defensive numbers are going to, their season-long defensive numbers would look really nice on paper. I don't think they stand up here against this team. But I do know that they can score. I've seen enough of FAU to know that they can score just as well. And there's times, plenty of times, where Memphis doesn't care to play defense. They just want to beat you offensively. So I think over is probably the right way. I wouldn't argue anybody either side, but you could probably tell by what I'm saying. I kind of like this Memphis squad and their chances down the road here.
All right, good stuff there, Rob. J-Dub in the chat says Memphis boomer bust, agreeing that with majority of the world, everybody likes Memphis here today. Rob thinking there's going to be a little bit of points in this matchup. Can't say that I'm going to make a bet in this game, but I'll probably watch it, just see how both of these teams do. Next game I want to talk about here, Rob. I'm interested today. We're not getting a whole lot of questions, but I'm interested in these games. And if you do have questions, go ahead and drop them. We'll do our best to get to them. Two more games I'm really interested in college. Next is going to be 775, 776, Iona and Connecticut. And this one open, Connecticut -9. Now a 9.5 point favorite, total open 144. And it is down to 140. I mean, as low as 140.5 out there at some shops. So Rob, this is, and let me just pull it up here. So I'm going to put this on the screen. This is one of those games that is also part of this trend that Jeff Michael shared. And what it's saying here is same one. But my bad. This is the same one from you can see it here. It's active on Iona and it's active on Vermont. So it's saying underdogs of 6.5 plus in tournament games versus non-conference opponents, and they're off 3 straight double-digit wins. And I believe this isn't off 3 straight double-digit wins, 17-3 against the spread, and this is since the 2010 season. So you guys can see here all the results. It's won a lot of these games, and active here on Iona and Vermont. So Rob, would you support this trend and back Iona in this game?
I didn't play either way. And now take this with a grain of salt, because obviously, born and raised 31 years in Connecticut, so I'm kind of a UConn guy, but that never clouds my judgment in these games. So I know a little bit about the program. I know a lot about that particular team. And I don't know that I could lay it here. They're the better basketball team. When UConn at their best is top 10 in the country for sure. Iona can't say the same, but what Iona can say is that they're a really, really good basketball team coached by a Hall of Fame coach. I don't want to lay 9.5 to Rick Pitino. We saw Iona come into this tournament either last year or the year before and play Alabama. And we all know how good Alabama's been in college basketball the last 3 years. And Iona gave Alabama fits, especially on the defensive end. And that's why I think this total is pushed down so much, because both of these teams, first of all, they both have 7-foot anchors at the rim. UConn has 2 of them that are interchangeable. And Iona, for a small college team, does match up with the size. So I think from a defensive standpoint, I like both of these teams. And maybe that's why the totals come down. And I think when you're talking about a game in the at 140, it's hard to cover 9.5 points, Ski. I mean, just the math alone, it's hard to do. I mean, you're talking about 75-65 to win this thing and hit the total on the nose. And I don't know, unless UConn stretches it out free throw wise at the end of the game, I would be surprised. This 9.5 just happened, by the way. This bump from 9 to 9.5 just happened while we've been on the show. So it's some recent money. I would say if I had to play it, I would take Iona plus the 9.5, just because I feel like we've seen Pitino in this setting against a number 1 seed or a number 2 seed without what Alabama was when they played here a couple of years ago. And UConn at times goes through scoring droughts. They have a lot of scoring options, but there's times when they go dry too. So interesting. UConn's played really good ball down the stretch, 12-2. But I would be very hesitant to lay points. So if I had to here, I would probably have a ticket on Iona plus 9.5. Don't know where I'd go with the total. Again, I didn't play, so take it for what it's worth.
Fair enough. Lean for Rob on Iona, also supported by this trend right here on the screen that is active on Iona and Vermont. Boofer says he had over 35 tabs. Yes, no secret. I'm a tab holder over here. I keep them locked and loaded and ready for me. So you can cash that ticket right there. I think we did a pretty good job on that game, and I'm working out these features on the show as we go along. We have a question here, Rob, before I get to the last game that I wanted to get to. And if we have other questions, we'll maybe try our best to get there. But asking about the St. Mary's and VCU total. Open 122.5. It's gone up about a point or half a point. The side is -3.5 as an opener, up about a point to 4.5. Any opinion on the total here? It's really low for both of these teams.
I'd ask Hank if he has an opinion on the side, because whichever side you like dictates how you play the total. If you like St. Mary's in this game, you play it under. If you like VCU, you play it over. And it's because of the style. It's no secret 2-3 times within the last, 9-10 games of the season, St. Mary's was pressed, and they were horrendous against the press. And all they're going to see today is press from VCU, 94 feet worth. They are one of those teams, handful of teams across the country that's relentless in that regard. They don't pick you up at half court. They don't pick you up at 3/4 court. They pick you up on the inbounds the whole game, the whole way. And so St. Mary's going to have to handle the ball. We saw them. I think they had a huge lead against BYU a couple of weeks ago, 20 some odd points against BYU. And late in the second half, 9 minutes left, BYU decides to go to a press, and they cut that thing all the way down to like 5 or 6. Just turnover after turnover after turnover. So if you think that's the side, VCU, that they can force St. Mary's into a bunch of turnovers here and convert them into points, you're definitely on over. But if you think St. Mary's has this figured out and they're going to be able to break the press, and then once they get it across half court, draw the ball out the way they love to do and milk the clock and get a really good shot. This is one of the most efficient offenses in the country with a lot of ways to score. But they do use like 25 seconds off the shot clock almost every time. That's how you got to play it, guys. I don't know. I would leave it to whatever side you think is going to win the game or whatever style you think is going to prevail. That's the way you play the total here. From what I've seen, Ski, I worry about St. Mary's in this game handling the basketball, so I would probably be on over. I would be one of those guys who thinks maybe they turn it over a little bit here. But VCU, again, lousy conference, and St. Louis, Davidson, all these teams up and down the St. Joe's in that conference that couldn't play this year. I don't know how good of ball handlers those guys were. So we're going to find out. I just think that I would play it over if I like VCU, and I would play it under if I like St. Mary's.
Good information there, Rob. It always amazes me how you know so much about all these schools, able to keep up with them all. But you've been doing this for a long time. You're a pro. You're good at what you do. Let's keep going. 785, 786, Pittsburgh and Iowa State. Open Iowa State -4, now up to -5. Total open 130.5. And we see it as high as 131.5. So I was liking the Pittsburgh side here. And yeah, let's get them dogs barking. Yeah.
He sees something out there.
He knows this game is coming up.
Yeah.
So for one, I don't think Iowa State is that good. They beat Baylor, but maybe they're just a good matchup for them. But they didn't end the year really strong, right? I think they were 4-9 straight up. Maybe 4-11 ATS, something like that. So it's not a team that I trust too much to lay points versus anybody. And this is a Pittsburgh team who, if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I'm not the biggest college guy. I did a little bit of homework, but they're the best ATS team in the nation, right? Yes. And in the last game that they played, they didn't have their big man, right? But they have an extra day. Usually that was the first 4. They've been doing it like the last 10 or 11 years. They usually just get 1 day rest and then they come right back into the tournament and play on Thursday, right? But they have an extra day of rest. So I think that's another positive for them. You put that with them getting their big man back. They're a better free throw shooting team than Iowa State. I think Iowa State is closer to 67.5%, and Pittsburgh is closer to 75.5 or something like that. So I like that as well. And I feel like as long as Pittsburgh is playing a team that's not too crazy on offense, they'll be able to keep it close. And this is not that great of an offensive team. So Pittsburgh plus the points was the right side for me. I know a lot of people like it here today, maybe a little bit of a public dog, but it's the only way I can play this game. Do you agree, Rob?
I could, why I could, Ski? Because Iowa State is so similar to Mississippi State. What we saw the other night, the style of opponent really isn't any different. And we just saw Pittsburgh beat a team like this, right? They got out-rebounded by 21 rebounds and still won the game. Because like you said, the center, great name on that guy, Federico, but he didn't play. And if he does play today, it makes a little bit of a difference for them on the boards. But I don't think it makes a difference for them offensively. And again, I watched pretty close the other night, that Pittsburgh-Mississippi State game, because Pitt is a 3-point shooting team. And I just wondered if they were going to be able to get open looks against that aggressive defense out on the perimeter. And they did. I think they knocked down 8 in the first half. It went a little dry in the second half. Mississippi State got onto them a little bit. But it's the same team. Iowa State's the same. The only difference with Iowa State as opposed to Mississippi State is Iowa State shoots better. They can shoot threes at times. There's times when they can't shoot threes. So again, you're kind of in guess mode. Are they going to hit them tonight? Are they not going to hit them? Can they hit them in this venue? Can they hit them against the Pitt defense? Here's where I landed. I thought 131 was too small of a number because Pitt games just get over this total. I mean, I'm using Pitt solely here. 13 of their last 15 games get over 131 points. They're an offensive-minded team. And what I saw against Mississippi State the other night was that they can score against really good defensive teams. I wondered about the ACC a little bit, right? But they showed me they can score. They showed me they can get open shots. I think they find their way to 65 here, and I don't think their defense is very good. So Iowa State probably finds their way to 65. If I get that, I'm probably over the total at that point. That's a 65 is 130. I need a bucket to get over. Free throw shooting, the Pitt guys who do get to the line are really good free throw shooters. I think two of them are over 80%, Nelly Cummings, and I'm missing the other kid's name. And Iowa State with Kelsher and those guys can make theirs. So I tried it over, Ski. I just think where Pitt games are concerned, there's certain teams that you look at. We used to say the same thing about Long Beach State at home. I'll put it into that context. Long Beach State at home, just play it over. To me,
when you say that, I know what to do.
yeah. Pittsburgh at 131, just play it over.
All right, fair enough. I'll look into that. You said the magic words at the end there, Rob. You got me ready to open up my wallet. If it's similar to Long Beach State at home, I'll be looking at it. So we did a good job on the college slate. Feel like we got to majority of the games. Don't see any other questions here, so feel like it's a good time. We talked for about 25 minutes, 26 minutes about college. Feel like it's a good time to move over to the NBA. You good with that, Rob?
Yep, and if you guys are watching right now, because me and Ski had talked about some in-game stuff. Right now, Xavier, huge favorite, is down 7 with 18 minutes left in the game, 45-38. In game right now, they're a 2-point favorite. You may want to get Xavier. No, they're a 2-point dog. Excuse me. You might want to get Xavier plus 1.5 or plus 2 right now if you think they're going to come back and win this thing. They're only down 7 to Kennesaw. As I mentioned, they were a really big favorite. It would seem to me that's probably a pretty good play right there.
All right, Rob, hooking you guys up with a live bet for today. And we'll keep track of that and see how it turns out. Let's move over to NBA. We have a good amount of games on the slate. I think we have about 8. Let's start at the top and see how many we can get through, how many we have interest in. First game up will be 5-11, 5-12, Philadelphia and Charlotte. This game opened Philly -9. They're now about a 10.5 favorite across the board. Total open 225.5. Now up to 227.5, as high as I see it. Injury report. For Philly, McDaniels, game time decision. For Charlotte, it looks like Cody Martin, game time decision. And Mark Williams now on the injury report, game time decision. I mean, not good to have another center questionable, especially going up against Joel Embiid. So that's where I'll go immediately here, Rob. Right. I mean, he's shooting for MVP. He's balling every single night. Last time he played this team, I think he had 53 points. Sixers do play tomorrow. That's the one thing that gave me a little bit of hesitation. His point prop is set at 34.5, so they're not giving you any discounts. But so far on the front end of back-to-backs for Embiid this season, he's averaging 36.3, and he's cleared the 34.5 number 4 of his last 5 games. So I'm rolling with it. He has a good matchup here tonight. Nobody's stopping him down low for Charlotte tonight. So Embiid over 34.5 points is the best bet in this game for myself. I do know that Charlotte had 2 days off before this game. They have 2 days off before their next game. That makes me think that they might play a little bit better defense here. Like when you have that time off and you're at home, it gives you time to practice and work on things that you weren't doing so well. So I think that for them. Also, you could look at it the other way. Maybe they fixed their offense because their defense wasn't too bad lately. And the Sixers, it makes me nervous just because, they do play tomorrow. They're this big of a favorite. They're probably looking on the other side thinking they can just get away with the win here. So all of that makes me think for the Sixers, it makes me think points. So I'll stay off the total. Like I said, best play in this game is Embiid over 34.5 points. What's the best bet for you, Rob?
Yeah, I think you could look total, Ski. You just can't stop Philadelphia right now. I mean, they're scoring, got numbers in front of me. They've scored 117 or more every game this month except one when they only scored 112. Doc Rivers hasn't shown the tendency to pull his guys in games, even when they're routes. Now, it's got to be about 2.5 minutes left before he yanks them. So the Embiid props to me are solid. I think I saw points plus rebounds is up to 46.5 tonight. But if Mark Williams doesn't go, you probably get 14 rebounds, and then you only need 33 points to go with that. They're feeding him the ball. Like you say, James Harden makes a concerted effort to get him the ball almost every time down. And the free throw line helps him every single night. The guy gets to the free throw line 12 to 15 times and makes 80% of his free throws, probably more than that. So I could agree with that. Certainly, Joel. I was on that right side the other night, played his points and rebounds. It got there so easily. It was ridiculous. But they do still tend to take time off on the defensive end. I don't trust Philly defensively at all, period. Especially against a team that's going to play primarily with guards and wings. Philadelphia just, Harden doesn't guard well. Maxey doesn't guard well. D'Anthony Melton does, but the rest of them don't. So I would take a small look at over in this instance. Think of Charlotte will put up points. Those would probably be my two best words of advice here. Joel props and also the game total prop. In all likelihood, over.
Okay, we agree on Joel props. You also liking the over. And once again, I gotta get on track. I gotta get used to putting up these banners game after game. So stay on me if you see I'm slacking. We'll keep going here. Next game up, 5-13, 5-14. That is going to be Washington and Cleveland. This game opened Cleveland minus 4.5. They're now about a 5.5 point favorite. That's the consensus right now. Total open 220.5. And we've seen some movement, but it's now up to 221.5 as the consensus number. I disagree with it going up a little bit here. And let me pull this up so I can get it here on the screen for you guys. So I disagree. Really, I look at the last 5 games first, and I know both of these teams bottom 5 in pace in that time frame. And this stat here, we're looking at road teams on the front end of a back-to-back in conference after their last meeting this season went under. And that is going to say, here we go. It's active on this Wizards-Cavaliers game. The over-under is 10, 24, and 1. So 24, 10, and 1 to the under, which is about, close, a little bit above 70%, I think 70.6%. And if we look at these games, let's see how they do after All-Star break. Sorry, my thing is going a little bit slow here, but it'll update. It should get even better after All-Star break. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I see what the problem is here. Actually, I don't. Well, anyway, after All-Star break, since it doesn't want to cooperate with me, it improves to 10-2 to the under. There we go. 10-2 to the under, which is about 83.3%. So that's active on this Washington and Cleveland game here tonight. That's the way I decided to play it. Can you talk me off, Rob?
Probably not. I think Jared Allen is still out for Cleveland, right? I think I saw that in the injury report, but I did see Kyle Kuzma back. Kyle Kuzma didn't play the other night for Washington. I think Jared Allen's out. Now, the other night's a little bit different story for Cleveland because poor Evan Mobley had to sit there and take it from Joel Embiid. It's not the same matchup here for him. Daniel Gafford, a little bit different than Joel Embiid. So I think they'll be better at rim protection even without Jared Allen. I think they'll be a lot better defending points in the paint, a lot better than they could the other night against Joel Embiid. So where that's concerned, that would feed right into an underplay here. They've played twice this year. One was really, really old, way back in October, I think I found. But the more recent one in February, Ski, was 114-91. That's only 205. Fairly low scoring game. The earlier one, if I go back here real quick, was 117-107, 224. Both sides fully healthy, but it's got a playoff type atmosphere to it here tonight. So I think you probably get a little more defense. Friday night home crowds are always something that I like to be on. I'm just a little afraid of Cleveland here. Cleveland's got the great home record, the great home point spread record. But without Jared Allen, I am a little bit nervous. It eases the nerves a little bit to know that you're not facing a center like Joel Embiid, as I stated earlier. So maybe I could still get to Cleveland, but I can't talk you off under in this instance. I mean, for the Cavs, defense is what they hang their hats on. And for the Wizards, I mean, they're in desperation mode, Ski. They got to win games. And the way you win games is just by being active defensively and being into it from the outset. Right now, Washington just a half a game in the playoffs here. They're the very last play-in spot, half a game ahead of Indiana. So maybe you get a little extra defense out of Washington tonight. That's probably why Kyle Kuzma's in the game.
In games like this, I do like to expect a little bit more defense. Like you said, going down the stretch, and maybe some of these teams fighting for playoff position. So that's the way I like it. I'm glad you agree. And let's see if we can take that one to the window and cash a ticket. So great job there. I got through that portion. I did that one smooth. So I'm getting better with these new additions to the show. Let's keep it going. Next game up on the slate, we have 5-15, 5-16, Golden State at Atlanta. This game opened Hawks -1. They're now as high as a 4.5 or 5-point favorite. Total open 247.5. It's up to 248.5, the highest I see it, which is at circa. Injury report for Golden State. I see Steph Curry on the injury report, game time decision. Kevon Looney, also game time. Ty Jerome, game time. They will be without Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Gary Payton III, and Andrew Wiggins. For Atlanta, looks like only Jalen Johnson game time decision, but he's likely to play. So they should have a full squad over there for the Hawks. How I think about this one, I mean, it's pretty simple. Warriors are absolutely pathetic on the road. I mean, why are we betting them? The only reason to bet the Warriors here is if you're just trying to be that contrarian guy today. Like, oh, everybody's betting the Hawks. Let me just go the other way and bet the Warriors. But they've lost 9 games in a row on the road. They are, what do I have here? 7-27 straight up on the road. That's not a team I want my money on. Missing a few players already, and possibly missing their star player in Steph Curry. They have a game that they probably care a hell of a lot more about tomorrow versus Memphis. I have no reason to bet the Warriors here. I would only look towards the Hawks. And interestingly enough, I mean, I don't think this total is high enough. Warriors do nothing but go over on the road, 25-8 to the overs, because they don't play the defense. They don't play defense there. And without wing defenders like Gary Payton and Andrew Wiggins, I mean, you're not stopping anybody out there. So Trae Young, Murray should have success. And on that side, Atlanta's not playing any defense either. They're allowing a little bit north of 122 points per game the last 2 weeks. So I think the total is high for a reason. I think it still gets in, 250 plus, and I would only look towards the Hawks here. How do you feel about this game, Mr. Veno?
Totally agree. I don't know that I could have said it any better. I think Atlanta's also in a little bit of a desperation mode. They're hanging on to the last play-in home spot, right? 7th and 8th get home advantage in the play-ins. Toronto's only a half a game behind them now. I mean, if Atlanta has to go on the road in a play-in situation, that's not good for them. They have to be at home. So they're off back-to-back losses already. They're trying to hang on to a home spot in the play-in, and they've got a Warriors team that's about half healthy and a Warriors team that can't play at all on the road. I mean, all of these things, there's multiple things that would point towards or indicate, signal, whatever you want to say, towards Atlanta here. I think their first half team total, Ski, is worth a look. 63 points first half for the Hawks. I mean, they should be able to get over 63 in the first half for sure. I think their team total for a game was like 126.5, but I'd probably prefer first half. I think they come out of the chute with that little bit of desperation in them. Where Golden State is concerned, keep an eye on Steph Curry, because if Steph Curry doesn't go, then you can immediately look to Clay or Jordan Poole props, whichever you like. I think when Steph was out prior to this for those few games, Clay Thompson had a whole bunch of threes, like 11 threes in one game, and he was going crazy. So either one of those two guys I could recommend. I think Draymond's a suspension tonight. That technical foul the other night, I think, might have him suspended here.
Yeah.
So there goes more defense on Golden State's part. I mean, I can't give you a reason to play Golden State. It's probably, thank God I'm not on that NBA tip-off show today, Ski, because this would be the contrarian play, and this garbage would win just because of that. So, but I like Atlanta, and I think Atlanta first half team total over 63 is a good way to go.
All right, fair enough. We agree here. A little bit of a disagreement in the chat. I don't want to slander your name. I'm gonna say NN, but he says Warriors is his best bet today. Interested to know why. Are you just a contrarian better, or is there something else that we missed here? And Manny is agreeing. Clay or pull points in this one. Boofer says just bet Curry over 50 points. Let's see. Have to score 30 each team on quarters just to get 240.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, it's high for a reason, but that's the only way I can look. Isaac says line just moved to -4 for the Lake Show. Yeah, it's probably Kyrie and company getting rolled in. We'll get to that game at the end, but yeah, we'll get to that game at the end. I think that's the reason for it, though. Next game up, 5-17, 5-18, Minnesota and Chicago. Sorry about that. My screen just froze a little bit there. We're looking at Chicago opening as a 2.5-point favorite. Still 2.5 across the board right now. Total open 226, and it's down as low as 224.5. Injury report for both of these teams. Rudy Gobert, game time decision with his sprained ankle still. Naz Reid also game time. Austin Rivers game time. Noel, Karl-Anthony Towns out. For Chicago Bulls, looks like Javonte Green is unlikely to play, along with Alex Caruso, game time decision for Chicago. So I do lean towards the Bulls just because I think it's a little bit of a buy sign with how they've been talking and the energy that Patrick Beverley's, kind of brought over there. But I just prefer to play. And I went with Vucevic over 1.5 3-pointers. Bulls do play tomorrow. Again, I didn't like that for him, but he's hit 2+ 3-pointers, 7 of 11 games on the front end of a back-to-back. Last time he played Minnesota, he had 23 points. He hit 3 3-pointers in that game out of 6 attempts. And just looking at it, like his last 8 games, he's averaging 5 attempts. I think he could even get a little bit more in this one because just like I mentioned, last game with Horford, I just don't think Rudy Gobert is going to want to be chasing people on the 3-point line all night, especially if he has a sprained ankle. He'd rather stay down there towards the rim and try to protect the paint and grab some rebounds. And on the flip side, I think, Vucevic is going to be standing at the top of the key trying to bring him out of the paint. So he should get a few extra open looks there, and I think he can hit at least 2. So my play for this game, Vucevic over 1.5 3-pointers made. What do you think about Bulls versus Wolves?
No play on my part. I couldn't find, you know what? This is probably the biggest contradiction game I had. I would like to play both, but you can't play both. Chicago off the bad loss the other night to Sacramento. I shouldn't say bad, but it was a heartbreaking loss, right? De'Aaron Fox sticks that 3 at the end of the game, and Bulls played their hearts out, don't get there. But both of these teams are in such need of wins where playoffs are concerned. For Minnesota, just to go over the playoff situation real quick with these teams, for Minnesota, you're a full game behind Golden State for the last playoff spot, not a play-in, but a playoff. You can get to number 6, 1 game behind Golden State. So if they win here and Golden State were to lose to Atlanta, they would then be tied. So they can climb their way up. And everything you said about the Bulls and the way they're talking positively and the addition of Patrick Beverley being positive, I can use with Minnesota. And the way I continue to hear Anthony Edwards and company talk about how they want it's playoffs or bust for them. Want no part of the lottery. They're trying as hard as they can. There's some nights they're outmatched. Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't played in 3 months. But tonight, when you started talking about Vucevic, it is a little bit troublesome because if you don't have Gobert and you don't have Naz Reid, then your Vucevic prop really probably comes home. Naz Reid would be a better guy to go chase out at the 3-point line, but unfortunately he's on the injury report listed as questionable as well. I could go on and make cases for and against both sides here. I didn't play, so I'll just cut it right there. It's a good game. I'd be interested to see who wins. The Bulls need it just as bad for playoff opportunity. I talked before about Washington being the last team in right now, but the Bulls are only a half a game behind Washington. And again, if they win and Washington loses, that changes overnight. So, these teams look like they're going for it, Ski. So it's hard for me to play either one.
I feel you on that. And like what you said about Gobert, if he was to miss, I would go back and just bet Vucevic over his PRA, which is 33.5. Because like you said, it's going to be nobody really to stop him down low either. But I do think he's going to play just because he's been questionable his past like few games, and he's been out there every single one. So I think he'll play again tonight. There was something else. Oh, I also want to go Anthony Edwards, over the 3.5 assists. I've mentioned it past few games that he's played. I'm going to mention it again. Ever since that Brooklyn game, he had a nice game scoring wise. They asked Coach Finch a lot of questions about Anthony Edwards. He's like, yeah, he had a good game. He's scoring, but we need him to be more of a playmaker. We need him to use his gravity to create shots for others. That's when we're a better team. And since then, 5 assists, 7 assists. I mean, the 5 assists, he had that in the third quarter of that game, and they're still giving us a 3.5. So I think this is a bet that we continue to back until it fails and until they raise it too high. But we're getting 3.5 again. I got to go back to it. Other than that, D. Feeney says, how about the under in this game? I don't have a strong opinion on the total. Do you, Rob?
I could see it both ways. I mean, I had leaned Minnesota under coming out of the break. The Bulls have played some unders. The Bulls are a very good first quarter team, by the way. Somebody in our chat the other day, I think it was Saturated said, can't we just play Bulls first quarter and be done with it? And in that game against Sacramento, I wasn't really agreeing. I was thinking more full game than first quarter, but they did. They won first quarter. So total wise, I could see either way here, but I do think that if I had to lean, I would lean under. I think they're both a little more defensive oriented than offensive, and they're a little slower paced, at least in the Bulls case. Ski, real quick here. I just went to play Anthony Edwards over 3.5 assists, and I'm catching a minus 167. So they're going to eat me alive at this shop on the juice, but I'll keep searching. I got enough outlets to find a better price than that.
Honestly, yeah, they're going to keep raising it. I probably would still take it at 4.5. It's probably going to give you 4.5 at plus money. They just don't want you to take that prop anymore because they know what's going on. I think it's a winner though, regardless whether you take it 3.5 or 4.5. Let's keep going here down the slate. Next game up, we do have 519, 520. That is going to be New Orleans and Houston. This game opened Pelicans minus 6.5. They're down to a 5.5 point favorite. Total open 232, and it's down 4 points to 228. Injury report for this one: we have Alvarado out, Liddell out, and then for the Houston Rockets, I don't see anybody on the injury report. I don't feel extremely strong about this game. This is a Pelicans team who's been losing a hell of a lot lately, but I feel like they're a little bit more healthy now. So just a combination of that and now that I'm thinking about it, the Rockets, I got to turn this off. That's my phone making some noise. The Rockets are 5-1 against the spread the last 2 weeks. So they have been playing a little bit better basketball, but the way that the Pelicans, kind of got destroyed in that last game, I think they bring a little bit better effort here. Maybe take them early. I'm not a big quarter and half better, but they probably come out focused from the start. I would only look towards the Pelicans here, but it's not in my pocket. How do you feel, Rob?
As bad as it's been for them, Ski, when I looked this morning, there's still only 1/2 game out of a play-in spot. It's crazy. But, I mean, they've been a sinking ship for a while now, and they're still right there. So there's no reason to let go of the rope, knowing that, as time goes on, they probably will get as healthy as they're going to be. Just hang on and get in and see what we can do once we get in. So from that perspective, I could see them playing hard still. Houston is definitely playing hard. Give Coach Silas some credit here for at least having these guys go out and compete each and every night. The win over the Celtics a couple of games ago, the win over the Lakers, even though the Lakers didn't have AD or LeBron. Still, it's impressive when you're Houston. So in a time where you would think they weren't trying to win games, they're actually trying to win games. I would say this. My initial look always with Houston is toward the over. So That's where I started. I didn't get to the window with anything as far as total is concerned. At 232 was banged all the way down to 228. Maybe if they keep pushing it down, I'll take a little shot at it. But I'm not interested in the game either way, just because I think New Orleans has a little bit of ambition, so to speak, still to get into the playoffs. And if they do, they're the better team than the Rockets are. So we'll see. I didn't see Brandon Ingram on the injury report today. Was he? I was missing when you were going over that.
He's
But
not.
if Ingram's in, then you got to look New Orleans' way.
All right, so we agree there. And in the chat, they're giving us some prices here. Ant-Man assists, he's giving some better lines. Says at FanDuel is minus 154, and at the 3.5 line, and at PointsBet, the 4.5 is plus 125. So whichever way you prefer to play, I think both of them are winners. I do have a 3.5 in my pocket. Let's keep going here, Rob. I know the next game up, we're going to have 521, 522. That should be Memphis and San Antonio. I apologize. Let me get the current lines here. So for Memphis, they opened as an 8.5 point favorite, still 8.5 or 9 at most shops. Total open 231.5, and we've seen an increase. It's as high as 235. Injury report. Memphis will still be without John Morant, Williams, Steven Adams, and then Laravia game time decision for Spurs. Birch out, Graham out, Langford out, Bates game time decision. So this game was pretty easy for me. I'm gonna go with Desmond Bane over his 2.5 3-point makes, and it just seems like it's way too low here. I know Memphis does play again tomorrow, but Desmond Bane for his bottom 10 3-point defenses. Let me read it. I don't have the exact numbers. I know we bet him last game after these stats, and he cashed, so it can only be better than these stats that I'm reading. So prior to his last one, which was versus the Rockets, it was 16 games. He averages 4.1 3-point makes versus those bottom 10 3-point defenses, and on the road, even more, averages 4.5. And versus the Rockets, he lit him up in that last game, so the average is still going to be good. Going up against the Spurs team, who's the worst 3-point defense in the league, I think he'll have success. He played them 3 times so far this season. He cleared the 2.5 all 3 games versus Spurs. I think he does it for a 4th one here tonight. So my best bet in this one, Desmond Bane over 2.5 3-point makes. How do you think to play this game, Rob?
Well, that sounds like a really good way to play it for sure. For San Antonio, I say it an awful lot, but the mix and match each and every night of starters on this team is crazy. I'd like to know how many different starting lineups they've played this year, because every night it's different. That injury list always has 7 guys, and 4 that run at the game before are now going to play, and 4 that played are now going to be injured. And it's just crazy that there's any chemistry at all with San Antonio. But the better guys, the better offensive guys are involved here for the Spurs. They've been playing some overs as of late. They've gotten back into that over trend. 5-1 over the total. Last 6 games, 265 against Dallas the other night. I know Memphis is a really good defensive team, but again, when you have Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and the whole team back in, basically the scoring guys, they usually get their share. And Memphis, to your point about San Antonio not defending the 3-point arc, Memphis, they're not the greatest 3-point shooting team in the world overall, but Jaren Jackson and Bane can make them. They should score rather easily here, Ski. So I'm going to take a small look at over in this game, just because I don't think the Spurs can defend them, and I don't think that the Memphis Grizzlies, with a game on deck, will be all that interested in going all out defensively to stop San Antonio either. Kind of a shootout type game, so I'll look over.
Fair enough. I can't talk you off. Spurs don't play any defense, and both teams should be able to play with some pace here. Top 10 in pace the last 5 games, so I like it. Could see a lot of points in this one. N says he's not betting here, but he likes the Spurs plus 9. Chris Clark, looking at Trey Jones over 18.5 points plus assists. Munaf likes Bev, rebounds plus assists over 8.5. Bev.
Patrick Beverly?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's a little
Few
bit
games.
behind.
There you go.
Throwing me off a little bit there, Munoz. JB Brown likes Grizzlies and Pelicans money line parlay, and Chris Clark says Pelicans are ass. You don't want to go near them, so I'm not mad at you. Let's keep going here. Boston, Portland. This is gonna be what is this here? 523, 524. Got to keep up with the banners. It's a lot of work here. I see why they hired them producers, man. You got to do a lot on these shows. This game opened Boston -5, now -4 or 4.5 across the board. Total open 231. We see it as low as 229.5. Injury report for both of these teams. For the Celtics, Jason Tatum is game time decision here. They will be without Gallinari, Peyton Pritchard, and Robert Williams, Time Lord. Portland, Damian Lillard is on the injury report, but he's very likely to play tonight. Jeremy Grant, also listed as a game time decision, along with Winslow, who's unlikely to play, and they'll be without Baji. So I'll be real. This is not a game I was really interested in. I know Portland is terrible defending the three. Both teams top 10 shooting it. Portland's offense has been, I mean, they're the worst. I would say they're the worst offensive rated team the last 5 games, and they're going up against the number one defensive rated team in that same span. So because of that, and just looking at those last 5 game stats, they all favor Boston side. I don't like that Lillard. He's probably still dealing with that calf injury, even though he's probably going to play here. Don't like that Jeremy Grant is out. I could only look towards the Celtics, but I'm not betting the Celtics. We need them to lose some games, Rob. So just a lean, just a lean. I'm going to be a happy man if the Blazers win this game tonight. So not playing it. Nothing in my pocket here. Do you like this game?
Yeah, that referee with the jump ball at the end of the game in Minnesota the other night didn't help us with that Boston under ticket very much, Ski. I mean, we got Rudy Gobert jumping center, and he can't win a jump ball at the end of the game because the ball's tilted a little bit towards the Celtics player. The Celtics have been bad on this road trip, and they're still not finished with it. It's the 4th of a 6-game road trip. I mean, the other night I took the stance that I thought they would snap out of it offensively. They really didn't. They won the game, but they didn't snap out of it offensively. If Tatum doesn't go, and Jaylen Brown had a big night the other night. Again, with Portland, you just want to look at points because they can't stop anybody, but you need them to score. Some of that 10-game span where you just quoted the numbers on how bad Portland's offense has been. Some of that 10-game span has to have been without Anthony Simons and Lillard just carrying the team on his back. No Simons, no Grant for a couple of games. Grant's even on the injury list here today. So maybe that offense stays bad again. So to me, I didn't have enough good stuff yet to go ahead and play over. Hopefully, Grant and Lillard get ruled in. If they do, the absence of Tatum is not going to matter to me. So that's where I'm going to leave it for guys in the chat here. If you see Lillard and Grant are going to play, I'm going to be on over in that instance because Boston's going to score no matter what I would feel. Yeah, I'd like right there what we see.
Yep, I would agree with you guys. Can't talk you off of an overplay in that game. We move to the last game on the slate. And I'm going to love to talk about it. It's going to be 525, 526. Dallas Mavericks heading into LA to take on the Lakers. Opened Lakers -5. They're now between 4.5 and 5.5 still at some shops. So, no, I'm sorry. Just refreshed here. Now 4.5, pretty much everywhere except for Bookmaker. I see still holding up a 5. Injury report. And I need to refresh this because I'm sure something came in. I know for the Lakers, AD was game time decision, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be out there. Lakers will continue to be without Mo Bamba and LeBron. Luka, while it's refreshing here, I believe was listed as out this morning. So let's see. Here we go. We got the refresh. Luka out. Morris game time decision. Very unlikely to play. McGee game time decision. Irving game time decision. So I guess that news earlier was Tim Hardaway Jr. being ruled in, not Kyrie being ruled in. So first and foremost, how I feel about this game. I got to go AD over his 13 and a half rebounds. He averages 14.9 without LeBron in the lineup. He's cleared the 13 and a half number 12 of those 16 games without LeBron. And looking at Dallas, they're a bottom 10 rebounding team the last 5 games. Just don't see anybody really, stopping them from getting there tonight. So I got to roll with AD over rebound prop. And I like the Lakers too. Um, Big game for both of these teams, right? Ninth and eighth seed. I want to say Lakers. No, they might not be eighth seed, but it's still a big game. They may not be eighth seed after this game, but it's still a big game for both these teams as far as fighting down the stretch for playoff position. Last 5 game sets all favor the Lakers. Been the better offensive rated team, defensive rated team, rebounding team. So because of all that, and I know they got their anchor down there to hold down the paint, I like the Lakers here. And also, I got to mention this: Dallas is a team who they've been kind of iffy and inconsistent, right? They'll come cover a game, then they don't cover. After covering the game so far this season, they're 9 and 18 against the spread. And Lakers, they've been the opposite, right? Or they've been like the last 5 games or so. They'll fail to cover one game and then they'll cover the next one. So they had a pretty bad game versus the Rockets their last outing. Desperation mode for wins for this Lakers team. I think they get the job done here minus the 4.5 points. So that's my play along with 80 rebounds. Can you talk me off, Rob?
Well, I would like to have the full status on the Dallas injury report. Now, all those guys practiced yesterday. Kyrie went through practice. Hardaway, of course, he's ruled in. Luke even practiced. Probably doesn't play. There we go. Went through shoot around. I expect Kyrie to play. With that, Ski, I might look at a first quarter total here. Dallas is a real good first quarter over team, 40 and 29. The reason why you're playing Anthony Davis in this game, they don't protect rim whatsoever. You can get your starting unit can get a lot of points in the paint against them. And when they have offense on the floor to start the game, they can light it up as well. So if I can get Kyrie in the game, I think first quarter over is definitely worth a look. Full game, I'm not really sure that Dallas is just going to flip a switch here, right? They've been without their guys for a while, and it hasn't been pretty offensively over the course of 4 quarters. When you're still going with the backup unit in a couple of instances, I don't know if they can perform scoring points. So the Lakers might be able to create separation, and the game might end up being an under at the end. Of course, I know that you like to say if AD's in the game, we want to play them under the LA Lakers because that's the only time there's defense on the floor. So, of course, there's other guys now with Vanderbilt and whatnot. I'm going to say this. I like first quarter over if Kyrie's involved. Otherwise, I'm probably off the game, maybe an in-game situation for me.
All right, so Rob's going to wait and see. I'm involved. If Kyrie gets ruled in, if the line goes down some more, I'll probably take the Lakers again. I think they get the job done here pretty comfortably. Just take another look at the comments. If people can stop messaging me on Skype, I'm not even on the show today. Boofer says, the saddest photo I'm going to take is AD leaning against the scorer's table with a towel over his head. Are you talking about in the Curry style? I know I saw Curry doing that last night. AD will be all right tonight. They'll get the W. Manny likes Lakers team total over. D. Finney says he does not trust the Lakers. So a lot of differing opinions, a lot of information. You guys choose what makes the most sense to you. Rob, we've been on here a little bit over an hour. I feel like we did a good job. We touched every NBA game. We touched a good amount of the college basketball games. So get to that point in the show where we give you a chance to say anything you'd like to promote. And if there's a game that we talked about, or maybe more than one game that we talked about that you like more than the rest, we would love to hear it.
All right, so let's get the promotion out of the way, wagertalk.com. And I don't mean it in that manner. Johnny Detroit, of course, we want to promote wagertalk.com. That's a place where you can get all of my work, a whole bunch of Skis work as well. We're both over there each and every day on shows, wagertalk.com. If you just drop your email address, you can get all of the video content provided each and every day from all the analysts over there for free. So I would advise it. Go over there. It's kind of one-stop shopping, wagertalk.com. You can get analysis. And if you're interested in selection packages, we both have them up for sale over there every single day. I happen to have a bunch of college on tap today. That's still to be tipping off. So I think there's 3 best bets in college up and available. College season has been really, really good. Another 2-1 night last night. So once again, wagertalk.com. Let's get to what we like for today's Ski. Let's try and provide one of each. In the NBA tonight, I think Atlanta first half over 63 is a really good play against Golden State, especially if they don't have some guys. When it's left to Jordan Poole and Clay to take over, it's usually no more than an up and down affair. Atlanta likes those. So I'm going to try Atlanta team total over 63 in the first half. And where college is concerned, let me go back here a bit because we talked about a bunch of games. I'm going to leave you with this one. I think that late tonight, Arizona State and TCU are going to play. Total there looks to be in the range of 141.5, 142. I think I'd look for that to get over the number. Again, I have a bunch of plays over there at wagertalk.com for anything further, but I'll go with those two. I'll go with the Arizona State TCU game over, and I'll go with Atlanta first half over 63.
All right, Rob, expecting ASU get out in that fast break again tonight and dropping off 2 best bets for you guys. I will give you guys my college play for tonight is Pitt plus 4.5. And I'm not the biggest college guy. I did do a little bit of homework. Take it for what it's worth. I do love these NBA bets a little bit more. I'm going to share 4 out of the 5 props that I bet. I do have 8 total bets in general so far today. So these are my favorites in the NBA. I'm going Bane over 2.5 3-pointers made versus Spurs. Worst 3-point defense in the league. I think he gets there. He's done it every time versus them this season. Embiid over 34.5 points. Gunning for MVP. Going up against a Charlotte team with no big man. He should be able to get that easy. Anthony Edwards over 3.5 assists. Coach challenged him to play make and create for everybody on the team. He's been doing it in the 2 games since. And Anthony Davis over 13.5 rebounds, going up against a bottom 10 rebounding team. And he's averaging closer to 15 without LeBron in the lineup tonight. So 4 NBA best bets for the show. 1 college bet for me. Rob gave you a college selection as well as an NBA selection. Rob, I appreciate you for taking the time to come do this show. I absolutely could not talk about college the way you do. Your wealth of knowledge. Don't know how you keep up with everything over there in the college basketball side. And the chat, like I always say, this show is not the same without you guys. You guys help make the show. So a lot of great info from you guys down there. We appreciate the support. And I just want to wish you guys best of luck on all your action. I will have System Saturday out tomorrow in the morning, probably before 9:30 a.m. And I'll also do another video on Sunday if you guys are interested. If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button. If you guys have some bets that, I didn't see in the comments here, go ahead and hit the comments and I'll see what you guys are looking at. And I'll answer some questions if you guys have them in the comments as well. And just want to wish you guys best of luck on your weekend. Good luck, March Madness, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys later.